Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Blue Ribbon Lounge podcast.
Welcome back to the lounge. Happy almost Christmas.
Almost Christmas today. Wait. Well, I guess this will come out the 16th.
Yeah,
So.
almost Christmas. 9 days away.
Yeah, the next one will be after Christmas. Hope you do have a great holiday.
Yeah.
Because this is still before.
Yep, because it's the 16th.
Time traveling is so much work, Dave.
I know. You got to think.
Yeah. And we got a pretty good episode for you today, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, the topic is good. I don't know about me.
Well, or me. I don't know.
But Frederick Valentich, so this is kind of a classic alien encounter.
Every time I kept seeing it as the best evidence for UFO abduction.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know them all.
Well, the one guy, the fire in the sky guy, that one was pretty convincing.
Yeah.
The logging. We'll have to do that one where him and his friends are logging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this one, it kind of starts out pretty typical, but then I feel like it kind of really branches off in either direction of two different types of conspiracies.
Okay, we'll find out.
Yeah.
we never talk about it beforehand, so we always come into the pod blind.
Yeah. So Frederick Valentich, born June 9th, 1958, a very avid flyer.
Yeah, for the most part.
I guess an avid desire to become a pilot.
Yeah, he wanted to be he's Australian, and he wanted to be in the Australian Air Force, the AAR.
Yes.
But he got rejected twice because of his lack of education.
Yes.
But he was able to join the training, the Australian Air Force training recruits or something like that.
Okay.
Which I have no idea if that's like the reserve or it's just like a pre-military thing. Well, they'll like get you up to speed if you're not all there.
Yeah, it does sound like a training thing.
Yeah.
And after being rejected from the Royal Australian Air Force, he was also studying part-time to become a commercial pilot.
Yeah, that was his like big aspiration.
Yes. And I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but it sounds like there's several examinations to become like you got your traffic control, you got your flying, you got your
instruments.
So there's several different licenses you have to pass to become a full-fledged commercial pilot.
Yes.
And old Valentich, he failed the 5 examinations twice.
Yes.
And just before his disappearance, he had failed 3 more of them. So he was heading to get the hat trick of failures.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer,
Yeah, especially if that's what you want to be. That's what you're trying to do, and you just keep failing them.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what goes on with that, but there's something to be said about certain people's brains and how they work and perceive information. So maybe he just wasn't great at that.
Yeah, some people are bad test takers.
Yeah, that's true.
You get nervous, especially if you want it so bad.
And he did have about 150 flight hours under his belt.
Yep.
And during that time, he had been involved in multiple flight incidences.
Yeah. One of them was wandering into a restricted zone, like over Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then twice he got in trouble for deliberately flying into a cloud. Yeah.
Which you think when you're flying, you're going to be passing through clouds, but maybe if you're doing it on purpose. And
you're like, it's like swerving to hit a puddle or a pile of leaves in the street.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, I mean, if you have instruments and stuff, but I think when you're a private plane, you'd always keep track of where the other ones are because you're at a certain altitude.
Yeah.
So if you can't see, it's probably pretty dangerous.
Yeah. And I wonder if for that one, if maybe he was like piloting with an instructor.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, because how else would they catch you unless they're out there with binoculars or something?
Yeah, just like really, this Valentich guy, I got to keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
And so the flight in question, unless you have more of his backstory.
Oh, he was a class 3 or 4. He had a class 3 or 4 instrument rating.
I believe what I saw was class 4.
Class 4.
But I'm not quite sure if that was if it's like you have to take a test for each class or if you build up, so I'm not sure about that, but
yeah,
he for sure had a class 4, which involves flying at night.
But only under certain visual meteorologic conditions.
Yes. Yeah, it's got to be a clear day.
Yeah.
You can fly at night. And I wonder if it has anything to do with like the plane instruments itself as well.
Well, I think if you're not as familiar with them, and maybe you still need to use your eyeballs to navigate.
Yeah.
So then they're going to be like, nah, you can't go out if there's no moon, or if it's overcast, you can't go flying because you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. But on that night, it was crystal clear. Only a couple of clouds in the sky.
Yeah, some of them Simpsons-looking clouds.
Yeah, the wispy ones.
Cumulonimbus.
Isn't that the...
Oh, that's a rain cloud.
I thought that was the broom from Harry Potter, right?
Yeah, so this was October 21st, 1978, between 6 and 7 p.m. Now, they're down in Australia, so they're using the metric system, and the I don't know what the 24-hour clock is called.
That's just... It's probably got a name, but we usually just call that military time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he took off in a single-engine rented Cessna 182 from the Moorabbin Airport in Melbourne, Australia. It was reported that he filled a flight plan to go over the Bass Strait to King Island, where he was going to pick up some friends and then fly back. But I had also seen that he told other, I don't know if it was just people or other officials, that he was going to King Island to pick up crayfish.
Yeah. So he was kind of giving conflicting stories.
Yeah, so this is where it really starts to immediately kind of branch off.
Yeah, because the friends thing is what he put in his flight plan, and he actually did take 4 extra life jackets in the plane with him. Yep.
It was so it was said that the flight was about 156 miles southwestern. Should have taken about an hour and a half. It was said the sky was clear, but with just some stray stratocumulus.
Oh, so not the broom from Harry Potter.
Right.
Right.
The sky was not filled with brooms from Harry Potter.
Yes.
This night.
Not this night.
In question.
Right. Well, it's Australia. It's always broomy out there.
And the plane was fully fueled with about 4 life jackets on board.
Yeah, because he actually flew to I wrote it down. Cape Otway first, from Melbourne to Cape Otway, and then refueled there, fully topped it off, and then from there he was flying to King Island. What I thought.
I guess I had heard that the Cape Otway portion was part of a conspiracy, in that he faked all of this and went there.
Oh, well, because if the flight plan... See, I don't know if he landed there, but he flew there, and then from there, because it's the closest point of land to the island, so then that would be the smallest part. He would be over the strait there.
Okay. Because Cape Otway is directly south, or maybe southeast of... It's at least... like kind of directly horizontal from King Island, I believe.
From what I saw on the map, it's like from Melbourne to Otway is like southwest.
Okay.
And then from Otway to Kings Island is pretty much just straight south.
Okay.
That's because he's flying from the bottom of Australia.
Yeah.
And it's the strait in between Australia and Tasmania.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just doing this from memory. I remember seeing a picture of the map.
I looked at the map too, but I feel like Google Maps. Lately I've been using Google Maps, and it keeps my truck sideways.
That's weird.
As opposed to like straight up and down. So like when I see a turn on the thing, I gotta like kind of think myself into where I'm sitting at. But anyways,
yeah. Well,
that's a me
my old
problem.
lady does that too, but it always points. Her little arrow's always pointing up.
Yeah, it should be like that.
No, it shouldn't. The map should stay the same, and you should
No.
navigate around it. Because when I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, we have to go away from the river and take a right. And then I'm like looking at her thing. I'm like, oh no, we're supposed to go towards. Why is the river up? The river is always down on a map.
Because you're going straight at it.
Nah. I'm old school. I'm used to analog maps.
Yeah, you're drawing it out with a Sharpie marker or something.
Yeah, printed off MapQuest.
Okay, so back to the flight. At 7:06 p.m., Valentich radioed Melbourne Flight Services to report an unidentified aircraft that was following him at about 4,500 feet.
The transcript to this interaction is available online.
And
But-
I had seen that there was a recording,
yeah.
but it got scrubbed from the internet,
Yeah,
which is weird.
and I've heard a couple of them. One of them, they're definitely different, but I don't know if they're just all reenactments.
Yeah, the most popular from what I had heard, that everything you hear is a reenactment. The most popular one I had found is from an episode of Unsolved Mysteries.
Okay.
And it did have like some production value. It seemed like it could have been real.
Yeah.
But again, from what I had heard, only the transcript exists now, except for the sound.
Yeah, at the end.
At the end, I had heard that somebody was able to save it, and
Yeah, like somebody clipped it or
Yeah.
something, and you can find that on the internet.
yes.
Yeah, because he was pretty much like, is there any known traffic below 5,000 feet? And the air traffic controller said no. And then he starts talking about 4 bright lights that seem to be landing lights as the aircraft is passing over him. Mm-hmm. And they ask him what it looked like, and he said he couldn't determine it because of the speed.
Yep.
And then he's like, it's approaching right now from due east towards me. It seems to me that he's playing some sort of game. He's flying over me 2-3 times at a time at speeds I could not identify. I have the transcript here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then they ask him to identify it. He says it's a long shape. And he says it's like metallic and shiny. Mm-hmm. And there's different transcriptions too.
Oh, okay.
Because I've seen a lot of different ones that are shorter, and this one seems to be a lot longer than the one I looked at before. But yeah, he asks, is it a military aircraft? And the air traffic controller's like, no. And then they're like, is it still with you? And he's like, yeah, it's hovering. It's like orbiting.
Mm-hmm. Orbiting is something he did say, which is an interesting word to use.
Yeah.
Had shiny metal surface and green lights on it.
Yeah. And then he was like, that strange aircraft is hovering on top of me again. It's hovering, and it's not an aircraft. And then it goes into that weird screeching noise.
The metal scraping noise.
But it didn't even sound like that, because to me, I listened to it a couple times, it kind of sounded like this.
Okay, that's enough of that.
Well, that's what it sounded like. I mean, I can look up the real one and put it on the Facebook page, but that's pretty much what it sounded like.
Yeah, and I had heard, I think, 2 different ones, but I don't know. Does it really translate? I mean, I guess if for them to determine that it's a metal scraping noise, they would have to be able to tell that.
Yeah, well, it didn't sound like really metal too much. It sounded like if you have like a metal microphone and you're making that noise that I did,
Yeah.
maybe it sounds metal. But it also kind of sounds like if you ever watch a fail video and somebody drops their phone and it's like, and you hear that kind of noise as it tumbles like down a hill or
Yeah.
down off a balcony. That's kind of what it sounded like too. So it could be just the plane going into a spiral or something.
Yeah, some sort of wind over it.
Yeah.
In the transmission, I think he also talks about that he starts experiencing engine problems.
Oh, yeah.
Before it eventually goes into that interrupted noise. And then when the last transmissions were received at about 7:12 p.m., a sea and air search was undertaken immediately, kind of due to the circumstances that they were talking to him, and then lost contact with him.
Yeah, and the reason that I heard that it got scrubbed from the internet, albeit Men in Black, but it was because it was too frantic, like he was too scared sounding, like, so it was kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's also what prompted him to be like, okay, we can't get in contact with this guy who was freaking out. We should send someone out there to check on him.
Yeah. And I didn't write it down, but I think there was some interview with the radio guy.
Yeah.
The radio tower guy. And he was talking about how, like, the way he sounded, and I can't remember if it was like, it was something along the lines of like, it sounded truthful.
Yeah.
You know, like what he said, he didn't sound like, you know, he was reading it out of a book. He didn't sound like he was overacting it.
Yeah.
It sounded truthful to him over the radio.
Right.
So this sea and air search included ocean-going ship traffic, a Royal Australian Air Force aircraft, plus 8 civilian aircrafts.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say they searched for 4 days.
4 days, over 1,000 square miles, and it eventually ended on October 25th, 1978, without any results.
Yeah.
The Cessna, not even the Cessna was ever found, even though it was equipped with the radio and it had those life jackets.
Yeah.
The Australian Department of Transportation were unable to determine the cause of Valentich's disappearance, but it was presumed fatal.
Yes.
So that was kind of the official, at that time, closing of the investigation.
Yeah. And what their official thing was that maybe he got disorientated and that the lights that he saw were his own reflection on the ocean because he was flying upside down.
Yes.
But how... I think I would know if I was upside down.
Well, I think you think that.
Yeah.
But I have heard of a known disorientation for pilots called horizon illusion.
Yeah.
But I think that normally happens at like noon or at night. Because this was at like 7 p.m. The sun would be at low horizon.
Yeah.
And so you would see, shadows, and you would see definition pretty clearly at that time.
Yeah, but they were saying like when it peaks below the earth, the horizon, but there's still a light, like a dusk.
Yeah.
That it can make somehow like your peripherals will seem darker and the light is more in the middle, and somehow that makes it look tilted.
Okay.
It's like an optical illusion.
Yeah. But and like just going back to kind of like you'd be upside down.
Yeah.
I have heard of that phenomenon. In that it's like not terribly common, but it is a thing that you have to worry about when flying. You know what I mean?
Weird. Is it because
kind of like velocitation?
Yeah.
If you know what that is. When you're driving at like 70 miles an hour, you get normalized to that speed.
Yes.
So when you go into town, you have a hard time staying below 50.
Yeah, because you think you're going super slow.
Yeah, it's kind of like from I've never experienced it.
Yeah.
But from everything that I have heard about this horizon illusion, is that it's like you just get so comfortable with being one way that it seems normal.
Yeah, and see, I don't know how much G-forces just a Cessna will put on you So maybe if you're upside down, you don't feel upside down because the G-forces are pushing on you.
Well, that's true, because there's certainly something different between flying a Cessna and a 737, and like a fighter pilot, fighter jet. So that is actually true too. How all those could be different experiences. It's also been proposed that Valentich staged his own disappearance, and this is what I was talking about with that Cape Otway. They some people believe that maybe he landed 30 to 45 minutes away at Cape Otway. The Melbourne police actually did receive a report of a light aircraft making a mysterious landing on the island or on the Cape. Around the same time as Valentich's disappearance. But at that time, there was no aircraft plotted on radar. From what I'd seen.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. But I also heard that he was under, like his, it never showed up on radar. His airplane. But that also, he could have faked it all to fake a disappearance because of owing a debt or something, but nothing really came of that. And then the other theory is that maybe there were drug runners from Tasmania to the mainland, and maybe they were messing with them, and that's why he went down, and then they landed and took their drugs, because maybe they thought he saw them with cocaine or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what kind of how often drugs like that are transported in Australia. But I mean, that certainly would make a good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of plausible, kind of interesting.
Yeah.
There have also been speculations that Valentich committed suicide.
Yeah. Because the King Island, he never got in touch with their airport to let them know that he was coming.
Yes, which is weird.
Yeah.
And then after the investigation started, the police get involved and they start asking people questions. Both of those two original reasons for going to King Island proved to be false.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, you're Valentich's friend. Were you on King Island? Was he going to pick you up? How about you? No.
Yeah, no.
He had no friends on King Island.
Yeah.
And then also like, hey, you're the crayfish salesman. Was this guy coming to pick up some crayfish? No, you weren't going to sell him anything.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, he told his dad that he was going to get crayfish, but something like that, I'm sure I don't call ahead to the fish market to go pick up fish.
Well,
unless it was a big order.
That's what I see. You're taking a plane to go to another island to pick up, and you're not getting like a huge bulk order to sell or something.
Yeah, you're just going for fun.
Yeah, you're going to pick up 5 for your family or something.
Yeah, you could just drive down to the store and do that.
Yeah,
unless he just really liked to fly.
Yeah. And I got just a teeny bit about his family, so I guess I wish I would have looked up more, like, what does his family do? How can he afford to rent these planes?
It's his dad. I think his name was Giovanni. He has a really good name. Yeah. But his dad was the one that...
Giovanni Valentich.
Yeah, he was financing his son's airplane stuff.
Okay. Well, I wonder what he did. If
I guess it never really said. The only thing I ever heard about his dad is that he was really big into UFOs.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
And so was Frederick.
I had heard that Frederick was really into UFOs, and that his dad and his girlfriend kind of corroborated that.
Okay.
I think I saw maybe the article you were looking at, in that it kind of worded it weird.
Yeah. Like
his father, Giovanni, said he was into
maybe
aliens.
That's what it was. But yeah, there was a thing where he said in one instance he actually saw a UFO. Frederick did.
And I also had heard but couldn't find any corroborating evidence that his mother may have been abducted by aliens.
Oh, I didn't hear anything about that.
And I just heard it kind of in passing, and I couldn't find anything to back that up.
But I do know that his father was saying that after he supposedly saw a UFO, he was always wondering, like, are they out there? When I go flying, are they gonna get me?
Yeah.
Like, is that a possibility?
Which is a weird thing to be paranoid about.
Yeah.
I had also seen that, according to this American Science and Skepticism writer, Brian Dunning, Valentich's radio conversation was very similar to the dialogue seen from Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah. And I was trying to think.
I rewatched it.
You did?
And it is kind of similar. What's his name? Brian Dunning did say that this scene became very popular among young pilots at the time, probably because Close Encounters of the Third Kind was a pretty popular movie.
Yeah.
And then if you're flying planes and there just happens to be, it's like what's that movie with the fighter pilots?
Independence Day?
No, that they just remade.
They remade it?
Or they made a
Top Gun?
Top Gun, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like Top Gun's a super popular thing because it's about flying.
Yeah.
And it came out and it was a huge movie.
Right.
And so that, I would assume, is kind of similar to when this came out. Dunning speculated that it was possible that Valentich was trying to imitate the scene for fun and potentially was flying erratically to give the radar guy something to see, which also, if you're swerving into clouds and all you want to do is be a pilot and have fun,
right?
I guess I could kind of see it. It seems pretty dangerous.
Yeah, and they said like maybe he did it to get more people like to believe in UFOs, and also maybe make a little scratch, a little bread.
And he thinks that when he was giving the radar guy something to see, that he accidentally became disoriented and maybe went into a spin and crashed. But he was committed to the bit until he died. Like, that's kind of crazy.
Right.
One last thing. The radar scene did seem oddly similar when I watched it because, it was between a pilot and an air traffic control guy talking about air traffic that isn't there, not being able to describe the aircraft, and then they both had lights. I think in the movie, it was described as red lights, and Valentich's was green.
Yeah.
But it did have a lot of similar flow.
Okay. So, they also think that maybe because people have used computer generations or recreations of the night sky that night.
Okay.
And there were 4 really bright celestial bodies.
Yeah.
And it was Mars, Venus, Mercury, and the star Antares. And so, and the way they would be in the sky would look like almost like a diamond.
Okay.
So if you see that, and then you are a UFO guy, so your mind kind of fills in the blanks. And so they think what might have happened, like the most probable one, is that he saw those and then was too busy like looking at those to pay attention to his instruments, and then maybe he got in like that tilted horizon, which made him go into a circle, like a spiral, and they call it a graveyard spiral.
Okay.
Where your turns keep getting tighter and tighter, and your engine actually cuts off because the G-forces rob it of fuel.
Oh, okay.
And that if he's...
the fuel would, like, centripetal force away from the...
Yeah, and would cause it to start sputtering and running rough.
Yeah.
And there was an eyewitness that said that he saw the plane, and it was followed by a green light. Mm-hmm. But they also think that on airplanes, there's a red and a green. For left and right, on your tips of your wings.
Yeah.
And they think, well, maybe Frederick saw one of those, or it was reflected in his glass, in the windshield. And if you're already thinking there's a UFO, and you're freaking out, and you're seeing this, and your mind's just filling in all the blanks. But if he was at a deep enough bank, if someone saw it, it would look like the green light was on top or maybe following the aircraft.
Okay.
And so then you start getting this spiral, and then you're freaking out, and then your just engine cuts off, and you
and you failed your tests 2 times.
Which seems most probable to me. I mean, other than aliens, of course.
Yeah, and that's what ufologists claim, that the UFO either destroyed Valentich's aircraft or abducted him, saying that some individuals reported seeing those erratically moving green lights in the sky that night.
There's even a plumber.
Ray Manifold.
Yeah, and he took a picture of the UFO that night.
Yeah, he was a plumber, but it also seemed like he was an amateur photographer.
Okay,
like he was there at Cape Otway Lighthouse, taking several pictures of like the skyline.
Yeah, but the picture's really crappy, and it doesn't even look like a UFO, quote unquote UFO.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I did see that, like, I saw several pictures in a row, and, like, only, like, I think I had seen 2 of them, like, Hey, Matt Nicky here. We had some audio technical difficulties and lost a little bit of the conversation, but what we did lose was talking about those photographs. I had seen a few of them, and it was weird how they were all pretty much fine, and people had thought that maybe one of them had an issue with exposure, and so that's why there was the blob on the where they thought that the flying saucer would have been, or the UFO. And I thought that was weird how all the other pictures were fine. Davey brought up that it could have been a fly that landed on the lens. And I thought that was actually kind of plausible, with it being like a black splotch that was out of focus. And they did send the photographs off to be reviewed, and they were not tampered with. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then we were talking about, at that time, there were several astrological things that were going on. Like, there were Mars and Venus and a star and one other planet, I can't remember if it was Jupiter or Mars, were shining pretty bright. So maybe those could have been the lights that Valentich saw, and he got distracted and maybe got sent into a what's called a death spiral. And also, I had brought up that there was a potential meteor shower around at the same time, and I had never seen a meteor shower really, with the light pollution in our small town. And he was just kind of talking about he's been out to the middle of nowhere and seen it, and it is pretty cool, but maybe not something as distracting that he has seen. But also, there's videos out on the internet that he brings up that if you were to see that, maybe you would be kind of mesmerized or distracted when flying or anything really. So sorry about that interruption, and we'll get back to the episode.
It looks like a meteor shower, like you would think it would look like.
I've seen it on TV and stuff.
Yeah, well, like that one recently that everybody caught in Russia, where that one girl was just happened to be filming herself, and it's like a blue streak that goes over.
Yeah,
that would be more freaky than just little shooting stars, you know.
Yeah,
but
yeah, but I mean, I haven't experienced it, so I guess I can't talk much about that. Did you have anything else on the disappearance itself? I had a little bit for afterwards.
Yeah, a little bit. The only other thing, like my theory, when I was thinking about it coming over, maybe it was the 70s. You just saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Maybe you want to make a hoax, or maybe you just want to go fly out over the ocean and check out the stars. Maybe drop a little acid.
Ooh, doggy.
Yeah, and then that's why you didn't have a destination, because you were just going to make a loop or something and come back. But then you get all freaked out and have a bad trip.
Bad trip.
You're like, oh no, man, there's aliens, man. But you're Australian, so it doesn't sound as hippie.
Yeah.
Oi, mate, there's aliens. I don't know.
It is certainly just so weird that he said 2 different reasons for his flight and then didn't confirm with King Island. But also, not confirming with King Island could just be because he sucks at flying.
Yeah, like a rookie mistake. Yeah.
So I think that certainly has to play in it as well.
Or maybe he just thought as he got closer, you could radio their tower.
Yeah.
But I think it's an island, so they were saying they'd have to light up the runway for him. Like, it's not always on, because it's an island.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's odd that he didn't contact them beforehand. Because if you wait till you're there, then you got to circle a bunch while they get someone out there to turn on the lights and be super annoyed because you didn't call them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if it's an island, what if they have to get the guy out of bed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just sat down to dinner.
Yeah, that I don't know, that between him being really bad at flying and planning flights, maybe, and him doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
And I had kind of touched on it about him committing suicide, and they interviewed friends and family and said that it wasn't really an option.
Yeah, he seemed super happy and really enjoyed his life.
But you fail, your
licensing.
Yeah, 3 of your third times taking it again. Maybe you have just a huge bout of depression or something. But
yeah, it kind of sounds like those jets they got lost in the Bermuda Triangle, where it just kind of seemed like it seems supernatural, but it all comes down to inexperience from the lead. Well, this is one guy, and that one it was like the leader guy was I don't know. It's weird, and obviously nobody was there. But I did see 5 years later, in July of 1983, an engine cowl flap was found washed ashore on Flinders Island. You know what? This may be in what I was talking about. That was directly west. Of King Island. Yeah,
Flinders Island. That's my bad.
That's all right.
So this is 250 miles directly east of King Island. The Bureau of Air Safety Investigation was asked the Royal Australian Navy research laboratory to kind of check it out.
Yeah.
And they looked into the likelihood that the cowl flap might have traveled to its ultimate position from the area that Valentich disappeared from, and really all the bureau could note was that the part has been identified as having come from a Cessna 182 aircraft between the certain range of serial numbers that Valentich's aircraft would have been part of.
Yeah, so it's part of that assembly line.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, I don't know anything about renting airplanes, but maybe, wherever he rented it from was give me 3 of those Cessna 182s. Yeah. And so I'll, if a couple of people want to rent them for a weekend or whatever, I got plenty of them.
Yeah.
Kind of like Hertz Rent-A-Car has,
right.
8 Hyundai Elantras or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the Bureau... Oh, wait. Also, supposedly, these cowl flaps had a habit of coming off. And between the amount of air traffic and it being a very popular model of single engine airplane.
Yeah.
It could have just come off. Apparently, these people think it could have just come off another plane at another time.
Right.
And it was like the Cessna 182 was like you said, a real assembly line product that they're probably pumping out a ton of them.
Right. Probably like a popular, not like cheap, but like a cheaper one. Yeah.
Cheap for an airplane.
Yes.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. And it's like everything just has, within this story, just kind of has but also...
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's just a good one because it's almost blank enough that you can put your own spin on it or your own theories behind it. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure over the years, and it didn't help that after this, his dad kind of became a proponent for UFO stuff. Like he would go to like those conferences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonder whatever happened to that guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
That's all I got on the story.
Yeah, that's all I got. Also,
we got
because when I first started my research, I kept reading. I'm like, oh, is he gonna come back? Would that be weird if like 10 years later he shows up?
Or like some crazy thing of evidence, and it was like they found this engine cowl flap, but also it's part of everything that falls off a I don't know. So we got one more episode before the end of the year, and then we'll get a Hollywood Dave episode in. First podcast of next year. Pretty excited about that. So anybody out there, if you got music questions or comments,
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Or like behind the scenes. Last time I didn't really get to it when we were talking with Heavy Metal Deadle and Dave. Like, how do you book a gig? Do you just cold call places or stuff like that? Because I'm not in a band, obviously, but you would have to think either. Well, now there's websites, but before, would you just have to call bars and be like, "Hey, can we play here?"
Yeah. Well, and also, like, I haven't done a lot of traveling, but I've done a lot of performing.
Yeah.
And, I mean, when you're in an area like ours, there's not 100 bands. There's a lot of cover bands and stuff, but, like heavy metal bands or punk rock bands, they kind of have that niche.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of them. Like, I was doing Sideshow for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's not like everybody in the Quad Cities was doing Sideshow. So if somebody wanted this act, they'd call me or message me on Facebook.
Right.
And it was a lot of friends of friends and stuff.
And I think, like, some bands have, like, small followings.
Yeah.
Like Rude Punch.
Yeah.
Or
what's that? Cheese Pizza?
Cheese Pizza.
Yeah.
What, 3 in the Tree?
3 in the Tree, yeah.
And then, of course, the Standards.
The One Night Standards.
Yeah, anytime they're playing, I try to get out there because they only do maybe 1 or 2 gigs a year. So,
or like in this area, you have a lot of car shows.
Yeah,
and then it's almost like one band will make a circuit every couple of years to all the car shows.
Yeah.
But we could talk more about that. I don't mean to get off topic on the episode.
That's all right.
But yeah, we don't know if we're going to get another guest. We got some fishing lines out, so we'll see. And I'm sure it'll be fun. It'll be fun for me.
Yeah.
Fuck everybody else. Not you folks.
It'll be fun for me too. And the one that we did, what was it?
The Suck Off?
Oh, damn it. Yeah, you had to call it that. I'm like, God, why are you naming this? But it actually got a lot of views, so it must have worked.
Yeah. What do they call that when you name something?
They're like, yeah, you catfished them. Clickbait. It's clickbait.
Clickbait, yeah. It's clickbait. That was funny. But yeah, I always love hanging out with Hollywood Dave.
He's fun. This show will be different, though.
Yeah.
Because you're sober.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Hey.
It'll be a dry podcast.
Well, I just had some friends in from out of town. Man, we were up until 2 a.m. playing board games and stuff.
Yeah.
And I started being like kind of hallucinating. I was like, what did I accidentally drink a fucking hard soda or something?
Yeah. No, well, it's like being a little kid. Yeah. Yeah, where you just stay up all night just on Mountain Dew.
Yeah, I was drinking a lot of Pepsis.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't know. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't need that stuff.
Nah, it's just a social lubricant sometimes. Yes. But I think last time we only had like maybe a beer.
Yeah.
While we were sitting here, so.
Well, and then it always kind of the microphones get turned off, and
Yeah, that's when we see all the juicy stuff.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and Matt pulls out his dead alien.
and we do a autopsy on it.
Yeah.
Hey, do you see? It's got 3 hearts, and 8 livers.
8 livers.
Well, I hope you folks had a good time learning about Frederick Valentich. It certainly is an old UFO story, and it seems like kind of a classic.
Yeah. I think it's because that audio recording that probably early internet went around, and now it's scrubbed, which makes me wonder if in the beginning, if that was even a real one.
Yeah. And then also being from Australia.
Yeah.
I feel like, we just got New Jersey just got hit with a bunch of quote unquote UFOs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a bunch of drone looking UFOs, and the government was like, it's a local law enforcement matter.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then the local law enforcement was like, it was like 20,000 feet in the air.
Yeah.
We don't have jurisdiction over that. We don't get our flying police cars to go
Right, check
arrest
it out.
those. So and the military said that they don't know what some of the reports were.
Yeah.
I heard one guy at my work was saying like, oh, it looks like a helicopter and it looks like this type of drone.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, buddy, settle down.
Well, drones are odd because sometimes you see them during the day or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was coming back from Bluegrass after watching a drive-in show with my kid, and we're out in the country, and there was a drone. I don't know what it was doing, but it was just hovering. Because at first I'm like, do you see that? And she's like, yeah. And as we got closer, I'm like, oh, because then we could see the other light, and I'm like, oh, it's a drone. But then I'm like, well, what's it doing hovering over a cornfield? It was very odd.
Yeah, I think they do a lot of things like property review, and assessment and things like that. It's becoming like an easier way to confirm like larger areas, or
and I'm sure farmers can use them to see how the crops are doing,
or like, hey, I'm only counting 20 cows here. I gotta find 4 more, and then you fly a $100 drone out and find them. And
instead of getting on your horse or your quad, you drive out there.
So I mean, drones have been out for a long time, and even outside of the $20 to $100 ones you can buy at Walmart, like who knows what the government's cooking up.
Cooking up.
There was somebody was talking about on the news that Iraq had a ship off of the coast and was launching drones into New Jersey. Now that got shot down pretty quick. Yeah. And I was like, first, do you pick Iraq?
Yeah, I mean, they might have a navy, but why are they all the way over here?
And I thought that was kind of funny, but yeah, who knows? I don't know. I haven't been following it too much. I just kind of heard it in passing.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard it at all.
Yeah.
I'm not a big news guy. Kind of. After the last 8 years, I've been like, I don't really like the news.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. I got kind of wrapped into it, but I'm trying to be better. Well, I hope you folks like the episode, and if nothing else, be good to yourselves.
Yes, and remember, the truth is out there.